Hello, my name is Jennifer Wagner. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're letting folks join into the Zoom right now. Again, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be getting started in just about 30 seconds. We'll wait for a couple more families to be joining us. All right, we're going to get started tonight. I am here in Pittsburgh, so I'm offer my wishes to you all in a good evening. We are excited that you are joining us as we kick off orientation activities with the Tepper cohort of the class of 2026. My name is Jennifer Wagner, and I serve as the Assistant Dean in the Tepper School of Business. I work with undergraduate programs. My pronouns are she, her, and again, we are so excited to welcome all of you to the Tepper School in Carnegie Mellon. We know your names from spreadsheets and college applications and the materials that we've been working with all summer, and we cannot wait to see you at our family open house on Sunday afternoon. I'm joined this evening by several colleagues, and I'm going to quickly introduce them before I begin sharing some information with you about the Tepper School. Also, we'll have a presentation about student affairs and student support and the resources available both for our students as well as our families. And then we will end our program tonight with a panel of very talented folks. We have a couple of current students, and we have faculty as well as our colleagues in the Career Center who are happy to answer the questions that you have as you prepare to start your Tepper School experience. M. Chernell Smith is with us tonight. She is the Associate Dean and Executive Director of the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion, and she also serves as the Tepper College Liaison. Burton Hollifield is here with us. He is our Associate Dean for Tepper undergraduate programs. He is also the PNC Professor of Finance and Professor of Financial Economics in the Tepper School. Steve Pieski is the Senior Academic Advisor and Program Manager in the Tepper School of Business. Jennifer Frick is the Senior Assistant Director and Career Consultant in the Career and Professional Development Center, working with Tepper students. Matthew Seeley is the Assistant Director and Career Consultant in the Career and Professional Development Center. He works also with Tepper students. And we're privileged tonight to have two undergraduate Tepper students with us. David Yu, who is a Tepper senior and serves as a head orientation counselor. Students, you will see him a lot next week, as well as Vicki Lee, who is also a Tepper senior and an orientation counselor. Again, thank you all so much for joining us, and we're excited to share information with you as you prepare to join the Tepper community. I know after a couple of years, many of us are used to Zoom meetings, but just wanted to remind you that during our webinar, all participants will be muted, and we invite you to ask questions through the Q&A feature that's enabled on your menu bar. Tonight, you will hear from a number of folks, and I'll begin by offering an academic preview, and then we will talk about resources and supports for students and families, and then again with our panel. So we want to share with you a bit of a preview about what to expect during orientation. On the slide, you'll see the outcomes that we have for students. We share this because as you go through all of the activities next week, we want you to keep these things in mind. And families, we invite you to check in with your students and see if this is material that they are in fact learning. We want students to set expectations for the first semester of college, to identify academic resources that will help and impact your student success, for you to consider what you uniquely bring to the Tepper School community. We're proud that we have such a diverse and inclusive community, and we want you to really think about what you bring to the Tepper School. We're also going to encourage you to think about how inclusion and equity matter in business. You'll hear from lots of current students and staff about transitioning to college and how to think about becoming a college student. And we'll also ask you to think deeply about the importance of taking responsibility for your learning as a college student. We know that orientation is a busy week, and we'll be here throughout the week to support you as you navigate the different programs and activities and have fun. One of the questions that we often receive here in the Tepper School is, when do you need to start making decisions? So what we've identified are areas of focus for each year of undergraduate study. In the first year, we want your focus to be on the college transition and earning solid grades. High school was awesome. You did really well in high school. College is going to be different, and we want you to learn how to be a college student and learn how to be successful. Your coursework will be in the business foundations, the business core, and exploratory classes. In the sophomore year, you are going to explore different minors, academic minors, and eventually make your decision by the end of sophomore year. Each minor has a different process. Some will require an application, some may require you to meet with an academic advisor, and some will simply be a declaration process. And again, this is something you'll work with your academic advisor about during your sophomore year. Also in your sophomore year, you'll begin exploring concentrations and deciding which area of business you want to learn more about in your upper level classes as a junior and senior. We know already through some of the conversations we've had this summer that you're already starting to think about the areas of interest or areas of business that interest you. And we know that you're already starting to think about minors and academic additional majors. Those are all things that we can certainly talk about in the first year, but really it's sophomore year where you will begin to make those decisions. In junior year, you'll be thinking about summer internships and preparing for what comes after college. For those of you who might want to be headed into graduate school right away, that's when you'll start thinking about graduate school applications. And again, that's a conversation that you'll begin to have with your academic advisor. And then in your senior year, you'll be preparing for your senior capstone, which is a culminating experience where you tie everything you learned in business together. And of course, you'll be preparing for graduation and your post-graduation plans, be it that you enter industry or academia. Again, let me remind you, you're going to have lots of decisions in college. You're not going to make them all in the first couple of weeks of college. It's a 4-year process, and we are here in the Tepper School to support you during that entire process. Academic advising at Carnegie Mellon is something we're really proud of. Here in the Tepper School, every student has an academic advisor. And for the students who are with us on our call tonight, you've already been in touch with your academic advisor throughout this summer. We use what we call a 2-and-2 model, which means you'll work with an academic advisor for your first 2 years, and then prior to your junior year of college, you will move to a new academic advisor. We do this for a couple of reasons. One, we want you to have practice building professional relationships, and your advisor relationship is a professional relationship. And two, this allows our advisors to specialize a little bit more, either working with students who are coming in and transitioning to Carnegie Mellon, or students who are preparing to exit and graduate and enter academia or the workforce. We've also been using throughout this summer a Canvas site that will continue to be a great resource for you to review about class planning, academic resources, student clubs and organizations. That Canvas site for the class of 2026 will remain live throughout your Tepper career. And of course, we also have advising appointments that are available in person as well as remote options. During academic advising, you'll continue to create course plans and talk about your academic goals. We'll talk about support networks and resources available to you on campus to do your best in academics. Your academic advisor is a great resource to help you understand policies and forms that you might have to complete along the way. And academic advisors are also great for talking about your early career goals. Of course, the Career Center staff, Jennifer and Matthew, are prepared especially to talk about early career goals. But as you're thinking about your course selection and your early career goals, the advisors are another great resource in those conversations. And you'll note tonight, as I speak, we often talk about early career goals because we believe that the jobs that you're going to have in your career may not even be happening yet, right? As you think about a long career ahead of you as a business major, our job is to help you think about early career goals and to really develop lifelong learning in your areas of interest. And of course, we talk a lot about academics in the Tepper School and in academic advising, but we also think a lot about what your life is like beyond the classroom. And to that end, we have community events. We host a program called Professional Treks or Pro Treks that we've had to put on pause for the last couple of years, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to resume this year, wherein we take groups of students to visit both local and companies far outside of Pittsburgh, so that students have essentially a field trip to go learn more about individual companies and industries. We have career development workshops and events that we host with our partners in the CPDC in the Tepper building. We also have opportunities for you to connect with recent alums to hear about their experience and to get their wisdom as they navigated the internship search or picking classes. In the Tepper School, we're really proud of our student clubs, and we'll be hosting a Spirit Day on September 9th. The Tepper Spirit Day is our chance to host all of our student clubs and invite all of our students to join us out on the lawn in front of the Tepper building for treats and to start learning more about how to get connected into the Tepper School. And we also have hackathons. They're not just for computer science students, but again, we really want to create opportunities for you to connect with other Tepper students and other undergraduate students from across Carnegie Mellon to come together and solve important and interesting business problems. I will also share, I had a chance to speak with a few undergrads earlier today, and I just want to say, on the first day of class, I've heard a rumor that we will have iced coffee and donuts to welcome you as one of our earliest community events. So we have lots of pop-ups throughout the year to offer treats as we continue through the academic year. We also want to take a moment and talk to you about how we support our students and work with our families. So we really think about working with families as a partnership. We know that students are often talking to their families, and you all are great resources for our students in supporting them as they navigate Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon follows a United States federal law that is called FERPA, or the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And this means that students determine who has the ability to see information about their undergraduate career. So students have the ability to decide if they want family members to see their grades, for example, or their student account as another example. So while we are bound by this law and we are restricted from telling families specific grades, for example, in academic advising, we do want to have those conversations with families. And so we can talk generally about resources and supports, class decisions as they think about if they want to study finance, here might classes be that a student might want to take. Those are all conversations that we're happy to have with families. And certainly in Chernel's presentation, she will share additional ways in which families work with Carnegie Mellon. But we do want to recognize this. If a student wishes to give permission for family members or other trusted adults who they may want to share information with, they'll have to go through the hub and SIO to do so, and we can happily help students check out the form that they need to complete. 3 times a year, the Tepper School sends newsletters to all families of our undergraduate students with highlights about what's happening in Tepper, as well as things to plan for as you look ahead in the academic year. Carnegie Mellon also has multiple family newsletters that go out. And I have to put a plug in. If you aren't yet following our social media accounts, I encourage you to do so, both for the Tepper School and Carnegie Mellon. I want to share with you several important dates that are in the first semester. And again, we'll be sharing both this Zoom recording as well as the slide deck on our Canvas site. But to draw your attention to a couple of key pieces of information on this slide. Carnegie Mellon University is celebrating Family Weekend, October 14th and 15th, so we certainly hope to see you then. Carnegie Mellon is also introducing for the first time a full week break. Mid-semester break is October 17th through the 21st. Students will register for spring, that should say spring 23, not quite ready to imagine spring 23 yet, in mid-November. And the last day of classes for students is December 9th. You'll note that I've also included the final exam period here, and we strongly encourage you not to make your travel plans until after the final exam schedule is published. Many first-year classes require students to take in-person final exams, and it is the student's responsibility to be here for those exams. The schedule is again published in mid-fall, and at that point is when you would want to make travel arrangements for your student to return home for the semester break. I'm going to pause at this moment, and I'm going to pull up the slide deck for Chernel Smith, who is going to speak to us about student resources. So let me do that right now. Again, as I'm doing that, I would invite anyone who has questions on the material that I just shared to enter those into the Q&A, and we'll certainly talk through those questions during our student panel. Chernel, I hope you are seeing the slide deck, and I know it started with this photo.
Okay, excellent. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chernel Smith. I use she, her pronouns. I have the distinct honor of serving as the Associate Dean and Executive Director of the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion, and really about belongingness, which is wonderful because I'm serving also as a Tepper College Liaison within the Division of Student Affairs. I think that this is just a wonderful alignment. I always start with a picture of students. I'm a believer that in many ways, that's why we do the work. And as we talk a little bit about aspects of holistic student support and advocacy, this picture reminds me of a quote by Maya Angelou. And that quote is that I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And it's in these particular moments, I think, as students, especially first-year students, are transitioning to college and families are in this process of letting go. I hope that you're going to find in these particular sessions and connections you're finding with myself and my fellow colleagues within Tepper Business School that we are here and that we got your backs. So if we can move to the next slide, I'm going to quickly go through this particular presentation because I want to leave a lot of time for Q&A. Below, you have my contact information. It actually also has my Calendly schedule link. I encourage you to snap a picture or a shot of that. It's a great way. If there's something from this presentation you want to follow up with me on, feel free to do so. Next slide. Now, within the Division of Student Affairs, and it's ironic because I actually sit at the nexus of both the Division of Student Affairs and the Provost Office, but I'm going to lean a lot heavily from the Tepper College Liaison role within the Division of Student Affairs. And our vision within the Division of Student Affairs is really about inspiring students and supporting them to engage in transformative experiences. And that is about themselves, the community, and contributions to the global society. Next slide. As you would imagine within the Division of Student Affairs, and this fits into holistic support, as you look at the values that guide our work, it's integrity, it's compassion, it's inclusivity, dedication, responsiveness, collaboration, and innovation. And the two that really stand out in values that are associated with our support as a Tepper College Liaison is really about responsiveness and also about compassion. And knowing that in our work as support of your students, as we dig a little bit deeper on how the institution goes about that. Next slide. What you'll find before you are just areas of growth and holistic development of our students. And you can read those for yourselves. We're going to move to the next slide that will dig in a little bit more. Our mission really within the Division of Student Affairs really highlight is the fact that it is about cultivating meaningful relationships. And so that means with you as parents and with scholars, but also in ensuring that in building those particular relationships, it is about serving the needs of students individually. And we do that through meaningful and authentic exchanges, but also ensuring that, as you talked a little bit about FERPA, ensuring that students understand that they're the architects of their own learning and development. Independence is really key for us. And so it's not a matter of doing for, it's a matter of doing with. And so that's an important topic that I think as parents and as students that you really should lean into. Next. The support for students in need. So as you can imagine, you're going to learn a whole lot as you make your transition into your first year, is that Carnegie Mellon has a high standard for unethical care. And I think this comes forward as you begin to think about even the things that we've navigated in our COVID experience. It is data driven. We process everything with data, but we do so in a compassionate nature. And we try to balance this in terms of care and cultivation of self-advocacy. We want students to learn how to advocate for themselves. That's something that's very important. And as I think about Tepper business students, it's all about how to negotiate those particular things. And knowing that the models that we serve actually is relationship driven. And so that means that there's a wealth of individuals that are out there. As first year students and families, you're going to find and hear words like the house fellow, who is someone in your residential life experiences, the college liaison, which for all of you here on this particular call, I'm your person. And I hope that many people view me as someone who's always going to stand in and advocate for you in an open and welcoming manner. You have career consultants, even those on this particular call, OIE advisors, Office of International Education, and students on this call may be international students. And really, this is a consultative model, which is beautiful within the Carnegie Mellon experience because you have many hands who are helping to provide. We problem solve, but we problem solve in a collaborative way. And in that collaborative model, you're going to find that there are many offices and centers like myself who are a part of that process to ensure that we're meeting every need of a student, not just the initial call that may come forward in support of the student, but holistically taking a look, not just in what may be immediate welfare-based things, but also in their academic experiences. Because we find that many times things may be happening in one space, but knowing that it's impacting in others. Next slide. So college student affairs, college liaisons are basically senior level student affairs staff who partner with the students support services, advisors, faculty, associate deans in the colleges to cultivate a positive student experience. And we do so again in a collaborative way. Jennifer Wagner is the individual I probably meet with most, but when there's a need, I have no problem. And actually your faculty and associate deans and others will actually say, what can I do to be helping in this situation? It's just not one-offs, it's really holistic. Next slide. Now, new to the Division of Student Affairs is that we've actually hired additional individuals within our Student Support Resources Department to add an additional layer of support and expertise for students. We recognize that sometimes there are student situations in which you need additional individuals to sustain and track over a comprehensive period of time. And so these particular individuals will work in partnership with the campus community resources to provide coordinated care and support appropriate to whatever the student situation may be. There's many examples of that. I don't want to lean into that, but please note whatever it may be, health, wellness, well-being, academic, stress, financial. There are individuals who are here to be supported. Next slide. The Division of Student Affairs, you can look there, you can go to our website. It's comprehensively, we are supporting students no matter how they self-identify and socialize within the institution as a whole. And we, again, do this in a collaborative way. Next. So DOSA has resources. In many ways, it says graduate students, but really it's all students. Is that the Office of the Dean of Student Affairs, we deal a lot with emergency student loans. Our SLICE office, we want students to get involved because that's a part of engagement and finding independence, is finding spaces that you want to belong in. The Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion, which I can talk about for the next hour and a half, really is deep diving into aspects of being your authentic self and ensuring we create a sense of belonging for you as students. Lastly, our Office of Community Standards and Integrity is another area that's vitally important as well. Next. University Health Services, I'm sure, because I've been in conversations with some earlier WIBER first-year students and families, that you've gotten lots of contact from University Health Services. Right now, all of the questions seem to be about insurance-based things. But please note that our University Health Services offers remote services and telehealth care appointments. I think the world of COVID has helped us actually create more accessible connections with one another. And that's beautiful because I think as the institution, Carnegie Mellon is using that to reach students where they are and being able to support them. So that number that's listed there, you can talk and have consultations with University Health Services. And then as always, you're getting information about the posture of the campus regarding COVID-19. There is also an after hours advice line that I encourage parents and students to take advantage of that as well. Next. Counseling and psychological services. Now, within the campus community, I will say this is an area in which, as an institution, we understand the importance of engaging in health and well-being. The institution as a whole and within the Division of Student Affairs, we're even in the process of building a new wellness center on our campus, which these particular targets will actually have the ability to experience that before they graduate. Now, with our counseling and psychological services, you can call CAPS 24 hours, 7 days a week, and speak to someone about scheduling an appointment and or getting a consultation with them immediately. Also within CAPS, please note, it's not always about immediacy and urgency. It's also about building competencies in order to be supportive of yourself through workshops and trainings and other educational opportunities. This is another number where no matter, you can be a parent, you can be part of the support network for a scholar, please feel free to be able to call and utilize that number and someone will answer and help you. Next. Lastly, I cannot be on a call, and we can talk about being a college liaison, but the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion is something very important to me. You have my contact information for the center that's there. If you go to the next slide, I always like to tell parents to kind of follow us as well, but I can't talk about being supportive of a student without knowing that sometimes we have to deep dive into student self-identities as well. And so the campus context of our Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion is about access, success, and engagement. Next slide. And to highlight that, we do so with the framework of a culturally engaging campus environment. We recognize that students don't have a sense of belonging about who they are. Their academic dispositions and overall academic performance will not be at their optimal best. So we want to ensure through these supportive models that we have and collaborations like the centers that I'm a part of, in diversity, equity, and inclusion and belongingness, that we're creating an environment for students to thrive and be at their most successful. Next slide. Lastly, I will just say, I hope that from this session you recognize that holistically we're here to advocate for our Tepper business students. And I just can say we are looking forward to seeing you here and can't wait to see what impacts you're going to bring to our campus community. Thanks so much, Jen. And then I'll just lastly say, I won't be able to be a part of the last part of the Q&A because I have to step out and be a part of a pre-fall orientation experience. But I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of you at the reception on Sunday. Welcome to Carnegie Mellon.
And may I say, Chanel will be with us on Sunday for a bit, and students will also see Chanel throughout the week during orientation activities, and especially on Thursday morning when she is with us as part of Tepper Academic Day during orientation. Thank you so much for sharing the information with us. I again invite questions through the Q&A as they come in. As we're starting to gather questions, I'm going to ask our panelists who are on with us tonight to again offer a very brief introduction, and then we'll start our questions. And Burton, I'll start with you.
So, hi, everybody. I'm Burton Holyfield. As Dr. Wegner said, I'm the Associate Dean for undergraduates at the Tepper School. I'm also a finance faculty member, and I've taught finance here at CMU for many, many years, teaching courses in finance and markets to lots of students, including Vicky, I think. I remember from a couple of years ago. She asked lots of good questions at class, I remember. So it's my pleasure to welcome everybody. Welcome to the beginning of your journey at Tepper and CMU. I'll just say a few words. You know, a large part of my job in the undergraduate office has been working on the curriculum and thinking about what kind of changes we want to make and do and so on. And so I just wanted to say a few words. Our goal is really to help students work through their own path through our curriculum and think about what they want to achieve. So we have an idea of, if you're interested in some area of business, our goal is to help you achieve that. And so our curriculum is really designed for the entire 4 years to let students explore all kinds of different topics and tools in business. And I think this is a Carnegie Mellon philosophy. We think it's really important for everybody to kind of develop fundamental skills and then to explore the way you want. So I'd like to just say that we think it's, I do, and I think most of us do, think it's really important that, you know, CMU is a great university with lots of stuff going on intellectually, socially, co-curricular. It's really important, I think, and we want to help you explore all the possibilities and find your own path through the school. So if you're interested in something outside of Tepper, that's great. We're here to support you how to figure it out. But we also want you to take business courses. And then the last thing that I think I want to say is, for the last few years, we've had this idea that coming to Tepper is about learning about the intelligent future. And we've had many times trying to figure out what the heck that might mean. And I think what it means is we're in the midst of this big data revolution. People are finding all kinds of ways to use new data and figure new things out and to make new business processes and to do all kinds of new stuff. But the intelligent future means it's supposed to be about helping people. It's supposed to have humans behind it. And we're trying to teach everybody that that's what we should be doing. We should combine intelligent decision-making with doing it for everybody. So I encourage everybody to think about that as you go through the curriculum and this exciting week of orientation and the next exciting years. So welcome. And I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Wegner.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. You'll also see Professor Hollifield throughout orientation activities as well. Steve, would you like to briefly introduce yourself? Steve will be managing the Q&A and adding links and things like that as resources throughout the panel tonight. Steve?
Sure. Thank you, Jen. I'm Steve Pieski, one of the academic advisors on our staff, and I'm one of two staff members who advise students in their junior and senior years. So I will be advising some of you when you get to your junior year. I also advise non-Tepper students in the additional major for business and our minor in operations and supply chain management. And I do some administrative work as well. I will see you on Sunday and also throughout orientation week, and welcome everyone.
Thank you. Jennifer Frick.
Hello, everyone. Just a quick introduction. So I am part of the Career and Professional Development Center, along with my dear colleague, Matthew Seeley, who is also on this Zoom call. We just want to welcome you, and we look forward to working with you during your time as Tepper and CMU students.
Thank you. I think that leads us nicely into Matthew's introduction.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Matthew Seeley. I work closely with Jennifer, and we're happy to see you, and we're here to support you your entire time at Carnegie Mellon. So don't be shy about visiting us, and we work closely with our colleagues in the Tepper Academic Advising Network as well. So we're really excited to see what life brings for you very soon. Welcome.
Thank you. David and Vicki, I'll ask you each to introduce yourselves. And because you are students, if you would also share what your concentration is, minor or additional major, as well as your hometown to represent some of the places that our students come from. David?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is David. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm one of the head orientation counselors for this upcoming orientation. So you're going to see me at a lot of different things. I'm going to be at all of the Tepper events. I guess for use majors. So I study business and I'm doing an additional major in computer science. If you do an additional major, you don't have to do, there's no requirement for a minor or concentration on that end. My hometown is Milburn, New Jersey.
Yep, I will go over next. Hey everyone, very good to see you all. My name is Vicky. I'm currently a senior. I'm also one of the orientation counselor next week, and you will see me a lot. And I represent, so I concentrate in finance and with a minor in economics. And in terms of my hometown, I come from Staten Island, New York. So if you're also from Staten Island, New York, I'm very happy for you because we are in the non-chaotic part of New York. But yeah, we're excited to meet you all next week during orientations.
Thank you. And again, we invite you to insert questions using the Q&A feature in the Zoom. My first question is for both David and Vicki, and I'm going to each ask you to answer this question. You are rising seniors. You've completed 3 years of undergraduate study. You started in the Tepper School in the fall of 2019. And I'm going to ask you to reflect about what is something that you know now that you wish you knew back in fall of 2019, as you if you were to rewind, what is something that you wish you knew that you can share the wisdom with our students who are on tonight's call?
Yeah, I
That
can
was
start with
not a
that
question I prepped you with, so I wanted to get you on your toes to start. David?
Yeah, sure. So I think one huge resource to you that I think I bit underutilized during my freshman fall was definitely my academic advisor. So my advisor freshman fall was Tara, and she was really helpful. The more I got to know her, the better I was able to prepare for my junior and senior year. And Steve has been my advisor this past year and will be for this upcoming year. And he's been very helpful to help me figure out classes, especially the ones that are like the most competitive and all the people want to get into. And I think that's just one of the best resources. And I think people generally underutilize their academic advisor simply because it's not really a relationship that they prioritize compared to maybe like upperclassmen or professors per se. But your academic advisor is basically able to answer any and every question that you would have on this end because they've gotten any and every question on that end. So I definitely recommend you to reach out to them as extensively as possible. And they also love to reach out. They love to have a talk with you. And I still keep in contact with Tara to this day. So
Yeah, so I can go next. I think one advice that I wish I knew back then is to take my gen ed classes early, because gen ed classes really, or business and elective classes are really there for you to figure out what else you're interested in beyond Tepper, beyond businesses. And I didn't know that before. I was so focused on just getting my business core out of the way and trying to figure out classes that would help me land on the internship. So I just forgot to kind of have a figure out what my other interests are. And I didn't take my gen ed classes in behavioral econ or in intro to film until in my junior year. And I realized that I was actually very interested in film, but at that time it was already too late for me to, maybe complete a minor in film. So I would really recommend every freshman to try to kind of intertwine your business curriculums with some classes outside Tepper. So in this way, you can really just figure out not just your interest in Tepper, but also your interest outside Tepper to kind of continue to fulfill your secondary intellectual curiosity. So you can be a very well-rounded student, which is what Tepper wants us to be.
Thank you both, Vicky and David. You could not have answered that in ways that I wanted more. So thank you for that. Let me also say, and I appreciate what you said, Vicky, we talked during the admissions process that if you come to Carnegie Mellon and only study business, you're cheating yourself out of the experience at Carnegie Mellon. And that's one of the reasons we want you to earn a minor and to do your general education. Remember, we call that university core now for you incoming students. And so we want you to take advantage of all of the different programs and academics here at CMU. And so you've heard a little bit about how students are already doing that. And as you meet your orientation counselors next week and participate in Tepper activities, we hope you'll continue to ask those questions so you can learn about all the opportunities here in Carnegie Mellon. And I'm going to ask somebody from the Career Center, so either Matthew or Jen. One of the questions we get is about what opportunities do first-year students have for internships, and what should first-year students be thinking about when they think about career stuff? They're just arriving. They're going to be here for 4 years. We don't want them to leave too early. But we know that career development is important for business students. So what advice would you offer to our families and students tonight?
I can start. I'm sure Matthew has a few things to add to that as well. I think one of the easiest answers to that question is something you said earlier in this presentation, Jen, that one of the main goals for our students right now is really to just get settled into their courses. And we do get a lot of questions about internships, and I certainly don't want to downplay that. But I think priority number one for our new students is to figure out just getting into the rhythm of being a new college student. One of the things that comes along with that to some extent is getting good grades and liking your classes and trying things that are interesting to you and new to you. So we really focus on the concept of what we like to call gaining experience. And experience can be gained in lots of different ways. It could be through an internship. It could be through joining a club or an activity that helps you to think about your career interests. It could be volunteering or doing community service in the Pittsburgh area, and we've got lots of resources for that. Or it could just be taking some classes that are interesting and challenging. I would say for your first year or the summer after your first year, it's certainly not critical that you do an internship, but we have lots of students who are interested in exploring what's out there. They tend to find the best luck at startups and small companies, perhaps even doing research over the summer. We've had some students who have looked at courses that are taught I know in the past few summers, we've had faculty who've done research courses with students where they've gotten to tackle some really interesting problems, whether they're economic issues or financial issues, but really doing some research around those things. So I think there are lots of ways to gain experience. Matthew, do you want to add anything to that?
Benefit of Jen and I working so closely together is that we think in very similar ways. So I really align with what she said in terms of practical strategies, just to underscore that theme that you're going to get tonight and with your orientation counselors and throughout your time at Tepper, is to really focus on yourself and your wellness and a holistic sense of your experience. I'm going to give you some honest reality too. You're going to get a lot of pressure from different folks, maybe yourself even, competition with your classmates about, hey, did you get this fancy, whatever it is, fill in the blank. And you'll just have to remind yourself that the talent that you have brought forth so far brought you here, and you belong here, and there are more than one pathway to get where you need to go. So don't be afraid to take in all that information and take in some of that good advice, but make sure you're the author of your own experience and that you're aligning with that. And like I said before, Jen and I are always happy to meet with you and talk with you, regardless of what year you are. And we talk with alumni too, who 20 years afterwards have questions about career. So it's a lifelong adventure, and we're excited that you're part of it.
I would add to that as well. One of the things you have access to right now is your career launch course through our center. I take it very seriously because it's my baby in a sense. I spend hours and hours working on it every summer. But on Canvas, you have access to our course career launch. There's lots of great information in the course about how to get started with your resume if you want to start to put together a resume, how to write a cover letter, learning how to use our handshake system, which is where we post campus jobs as well as internship opportunities. But take a look if you haven't done that so far at our Canvas course.
Thank you. And a nice plug for using Canvas. Professor Hollifield, my question that we have for you is similar to the question I asked David and Vicky. You've been a faculty member in the Tepper School for many years, and you've worked with undergraduate students for quite a while. What piece of advice do faculty have for new business students here in the Tepper School?
In some ways, it's maybe similar to what we've heard. One thing is you have to kind of just get acclimatized to life at CMU in the fall. And I sometimes notice that students get, I don't know if competitive is the right word, but spend too much time comparing themselves to everybody else. But that seems like a mistake somehow to me. It's good to just think this is your journey, this is your education, this is your 4 years to do things. And just because everybody else is taking course X doesn't mean you have to take it if you don't find it interesting. Or I hesitate to say this, but just because everybody else wants to be a finance concentrator, that doesn't mean you have to be a finance concentrator. If it's interesting and cool to you, go for it, but there are lots of things to do. So I think that's the most important thing is to remember that it's your journey and we're all kind of trying to get through this together. And just because other people are telling you they're taking all these courses or doing all this stuff, doesn't mean you have to do that. You can if you want, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. But I think that's what I would say.
Thank you. That actually leads nicely into a question I'd like David and Vicky to both answer as well, which is, you mentioned in your introductions what you're studying beyond business, either economics or computer science. Tell us how you decided that. Hopefully you think it's kind of cool material, but how did you decide what else you wanted to study in addition to business? And if I might, because you're both seniors, how do you think that kind of plays into your early career plans?
Yeah,
Vicky,
so
you wanna
since
start?
Yeah, since David went first for a couple of times, I would start first. So I actually switched my minors 4 times in total. With the reason I mentioned earlier, because I just took my gen ed class way too late. So I just thought the minor that I was going to be interested in will continue to be somewhere that I will be interested in, but that's not the case. So as I look back in retrospect, I think that minor should be something that reflect your personality, reflect your true passion, that does not necessarily have to relate to your career. So earlier I minored in computer science, human computer interactions, and then switched over to computational finance, and then switched over to professional writing, which are all like all of the 3 areas I mentioned are all something that CMU is unexceptionally good in. But it wasn't until I finally took a class for my gen ed called behavioral econ and public policy that I realized that I'm just really interested in econ, particularly with a psychological perspective. So now I'm just hoping to, take more econ classes and hoping to learn more about economics, such as in emerging markets, in game theory, and stuff along that nature. So overall, I think the key to pick a minor beyond the business curriculum is to not to rush to make a decision, and try not to pick something because CMU is good at it, but try to pick something that you truly think you will enjoy. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up in the same situations as me, that I had to switch minors over and over again with like a lot of back and forth emails asking my advisor to drop this minor and drop that minor, which is very not convenient. So I think that will be my overall advice, is to keep your mind open at all times and to take your agenda classes as early as possible, like I mentioned, so that you can figure out what your secondary interests like. And you can also like just save your time, the troubles of like going through different emailing. And that really just give you the best chance to have a all-rounded educations. But I think even though I switched minor many times, I don't regret it, because all the classes I took, such as like fundamental programming, such as intro to film, the behavioral econ class, and all of these classes still fulfilled my gen ed requirement in Tepper. So at the end of the day, I went through 4 minors, but I also fulfilled my gen ed requirement, which is double consideration, and also makes me more convinced that maybe econ is my true passion for my minor, because I went through so many unwanted place. So I'm very happy to settle in econ right now. So yes, there's nothing to lose in trying to take as many classes as your interests call for. Just to know that your minor is really a place for you to explore something that you don't have to feel apologetic for, because it doesn't take you to the internship you wanted. But as long as it's something that you're truly passionate about, it's totally worth taking the time and dedications for it.
Thanks, Vicky. Yeah, I guess for me, so I never actually coded or did any programming before coming to CMU. And I guess I took somewhat of like a social pressure path in that, because CMU is well known for this side. I was like, might as well take 1 or 2 of these classes, see what it's like, see if I enjoy it. I did kind of give into that peer pressure there. So I started taking 15110, which is our like introductory principles of computing class, my freshman fall. And I really enjoyed that experience. I remember the first assignment that I went through for that, we had to set like the variable x equal to 10. That took me 30 minutes. That was like one of my proudest moments of the semester, despite writing 1 line of code. And that was just a great moment, because it was very like hands-on, and I felt like I was like doing something. And that feeling has generally progressed as I've gone along with more computer science classes. So for me, I think it's like the duality of applying both my business, the principles and what I've learned in my business classes, as well as what I've learned in my computer science classes, that has really helped shape who I am today. Because on one hand, I'm able to take the tough, go through like the tough courses that usually come about from like deep technical work, and I'm able to apply them in ways with my business classes, even a class say like business presentations, and having a methodical problem solving approach to something like that. So I guess my advice is that, sure, I guess I did somewhat give into that peer pressure, but it's definitely okay not to. Like as Professor Hollyfield said, like everyone goes down a different path on their end. I chose this path now because I really enjoy what I do. And I think it's especially great that I'm able to combine these 2 fields that, traditionally aren't very intertwined or intersectioned. and that has shaped the way that my early career has gone as well. Because I'm doing a career in product management, which kind of very much combines the two. And this summer I worked at Google. So by able to do the two, it worked really well on my end. So I did get somewhat lucky getting those two to work together. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to, if you enjoy what you're doing, I think the job will come naturally from it. So.
Thank you both for your answers. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure that our students on the call tonight appreciated hearing a little bit about your experience. And I also appreciate, Vicki, that you shared that you have changed your minor a few different times. And I want to maybe echo that as an academic advisor. It is okay to change your mind. There are probably classes that you don't yet know about, and there might be even minors that you don't yet know about. And so we want you to explore those. I would say probably by your last semester, so spring semester 2026, a little harder if you make your, a change of your mind as you're just a few weeks away from graduation. But again, there's lots of opportunities for you at Carnegie Mellon, and we want you to explore those. We spent a lot of time tonight talking about academics because in the Tepper School, we want you to feel confident and ready for your academic experience. But next week during orientation and throughout your time at Carnegie Mellon, we also want you to think about having fun and connecting with other students and student clubs and activities. And I know that both Vicki and David and all the other orientation leaders and the community leads that you met this summer are involved in lots and lots and lots of things on campus. But for our final question tonight, I'm going to ask Vicki and David to each answer, what is something that you do for fun, however you define fun, that is not academics? Because we know classes are fun. So we'll skip that answer, but tell us something you're involved in or how you have fun on campus as a Tepper and Carnegie Mellon student.
Okay, yeah, I would like to take this one. I'm a huge fan of fitness because I got into just following some fitness video on YouTube during COVID. My favorite YouTuber for fitness is Pamela Rafe. If you haven't checked her out yet, she's like the beast. And she basically just uplifts your standard or what like a regular person's fitness can be in a very healthy way, not just focused on appealing to society's like beauty standards. And one of my favorite type of workout to do on campus is HIIT, which stands for high intensity interval training. And you're not going to be able to do this a lot in like the UC gym because it can be very packed sometimes. So I personally recommend if you want to have a quiet place to do any type of workout you like, just go to the UC second floor. There's like a big studio room there with like huge mirror in front of you. So you can see how you do and just like stretch some sweat. And it's also just very stress relieving to be able to have space to just pursue any type of workout or like exercise you want. So UC second floor is your go-to if you want to have like an empty like studio room.
I also feel like this is a good plug to say that the Tepper School has a fitness center as well on the first floor, and you'll have a chance to see that next week on college night. David, what do you do for fun?
Yeah, so I guess in terms of I do enjoy school in some degree. So my extracurriculars have been somewhat academically oriented as well. So like I was a teaching assistant before for various classes. I was the president for our business technology group, and I'm still going to be on the executive board for that. I really enjoy the work that I do for that. And I'm also involved in Greek life here on campus. In my free time, I also enjoy going to the gym. The gym is quite packed here. And then I also enjoy cooking and reading as well. So.
Fantastic. Thank you. I think it's always important to remember, right, that as you start college, yes, academics are important, but you are continuing to live your whole life. And so when you come for advising appointments, your advisor might ask you about that and how you're taking care of yourself and having fun. So I like that we ended our panel tonight with that question. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your wisdom and your expertise. You will get to see all of these folks throughout orientation activities beginning on Sunday at the Family Open House. That event on August 21st and Sunday begins at noon to 1:30 p.m. in Tepper in the Simmons Auditorium, which is located on the bottom or the first floor of the Tepper School. There's both a stairwell as well as elevator access to that space. I will share that we will have no new information at that event. It truly is an open house. We know that the day before is move-in and that many families and students might be just a tiny bit tired. So before you depart, families, we invite you to come and say hi to us, grab some snacks, meet our orientation counselors and resident assistants from the Tepper School as well as our staff before you depart Pittsburgh. We are really excited to welcome the class of 2026. The first year cohort is 178 students strong, and we have 6 external transfer students who will be joining us as well during orientation activities. For those of you who will be traveling to Pittsburgh over the coming days, we wish you safe travels, and we hope that move-in day has no rain, elevators that work exactly when you need them, empty carts, and there'll be lots of people on campus to help you move into your residence halls, including both David and Vicki and orientation counselors and residence life staff. Again, thank you all so much for spending some time with us tonight and for attending our family open and welcome. And again, we'll see you on Sunday afternoon, 12 to 1:30. Drop by anytime. Thank you all and have a good evening.